Everyone has a story. For some, their story includes significant achievement, immortalized as one of the rare individuals who can call themselves a national champion. For others, stories include the formation of lifelong friendships forged during the fires of practices and competitions. Others would point to a specific time in their story when they felt the call of something spiritual moving in their lives, perhaps for the very first time. Together, these individual stories coalesce to form the history of an athletic program that began 60 years ago. An athletic program with a bigger mission. Character, culture, and Christ has long been the motto for Southern Nazarene University. With a simple 1964 trustees statement, the story and journey of an institution was altered forever. A new era was born as David Baker and one men's basketball team embraced and expanded delivery of its core motto.
I found the greatest thing that I could have found in my life, a person in the name of David Baker who had that distinguished athletic career prior to this, but ultimately knew there was a higher level of performance that he thought was possible, and that was the idea of athletics in a Christian atmosphere. One of the points that was discussed during the time I served 2 years as assistant coach under him, we talked about goals and plans, and one of them was, how long will it be till we have a national championship in athletic program of any kind? The goal that we set was 10 years.
David Baker's goal of national recognition was realized when the 1974 and 1977 men's basketball teams were crowned champions of the National Christian College Athletic Association, and the 1981 team captured the NAIA title. What Coach Baker could not have foreseen was how quickly championships would be earned in other sports. With key players like Avril Freeman, Katrina Springer, Astu Njai, Gayla Rader, Joanna Bailey, and Leanne Besner, and coaches Hoffman, Finkbeiner, Wigginton, and Clore, SNU women's basketball entered a period of extreme dominance, winning 7 of 15 NAIA national championships between 1989 and 2004, including 4 in a row from 1994 to 1997. Coach Paul McGrady's track and field teams produced many individual event and relay team national champions. Steph Miller, outdoor 800-meter and indoor 600-meter, and Russell Watson, an indoor and outdoor pole vaulter, head the distinguished class of SNU track and field stars who have won national championship titles. Coach Steve Holsey's women's golf team won it all in 1999 and 2002. Achievements of this magnitude could not have been accomplished without the foundational support of hundreds of bench warmers and storm chasers. Leading that effort were substantial gifts from Claude and Betty Seipert to endow the athletic department, and Carl and Marcia Sawyer for the construction of a gymnasium complex. Pursuit and attainment of championships are worthwhile, but it is the relationships we have with teammates and the Creator that has eternal value. Following the Baker and Mills era, the reins of the program were passed to a new athletic director and head men's basketball coach, Jim Poteet.
Of course, David was a great visionary. I know that he wanted to develop a great small college basketball program within the NAIA. I'm not sure David understood how difficult that would be, though. Anytime you try to reach a high level in a program, the first thing you have to do is you have to get the athletes. And when I got to Bethany, we had one athlete that was at the level we needed to be to win at the NAI level. That was Jeff Jantz.
Jim Poteet was a man that one day in a locker room, when I'd had a bad day of practice, he was able to get a hold of my shirt and made the statement clearly to me that until I gave my heart to Christ and my life to Jesus, that I would never achieve at the level that I could.
Jeff was an amazing player. He was the all-time leading scorer for almost 50 years till that was broken just a few years ago. And Jeff's life was completely changed by coming to BNC. And if you interview him and talk to him today, he knows that God led him to BNC, and it was a wonderful experience coaching Jeff. And as we played our first year, I suddenly realized one thing, and I knew it already, but we didn't have a point guard. David and Larry mentioned to me about a young man who was in junior college at Clarendon Junior College, who had been in the Nazarene Church in Canyon, Texas, where he played high school basketball, and his name, Bobby Martin.
Bobby Martin helped lead BNC to its first ever championship in 1974. After graduation, Bobby began a career in coaching and later returned to his alma mater to assume the position of athletic director and assistant basketball coach with Lauren Gresham. For 40 years, he guided the program. During that period, the school transitioned from Redskins to Crimson Storm and NAIA to NCAA Division II.
Active membership in NCAA Division II.
There's no question in my mind or in my heart that God has touched this program over time. God's leadership in this campus is incredible. And I'm so thankful that we have always tried to keep that focused in athletics. We believed strongly for at least 40 of those years that we were going to represent the Lord and do it unapologetically. And so I love to see what God's done. All of these stories that we're talking about are God's hand in kids' life.
We lived in Oklahoma my 2nd through 6th grade year, and so during that time I got to attend Camp for Champions. I remember walking back and forth from the different dorms to the basketball gym and Broadhurst and all of the different things, but I also remember being in Herrick, and that's when Coach Martin would do the games that everybody remembers him doing, but he also did a message, and I was 8 years old and he gave a message, and I don't remember what he shared and what that looked like, but my heart obviously was compelled to ask the Lord in my heart. And I remember being about midway down on the right side of the room and just getting out and walking down to the altar and asking Jesus into my heart. So I came up here my freshman year, and this year is the 20-year anniversary of getting to be a part of that national championship team my freshman year. And so got to ride that whole ride, enjoy the Jackson, Tennessee days for NAIA. And then I had an injury after the summer of my freshman year. I had a tumor in my femur, neck, and head that broke the bone. The doctors were saying, we're hoping that you're going to be able to walk again well. And so that meant basketball, as I knew it, would look really different. God used that moment to kind of help reshape my identity. It had been wrapped up in basketball, and now what I thought and hoped for my plans here as a student and as a member of the basketball team were completely dashed. And then the Lord kind of swept in and created this whole new journey and taught me how to be a servant leader, taught me how important it was to speak life into people, and have just over the last 17 years transitioned into different roles in student life, and now have the privilege of serving as Dean of Students. It's an honor then to move into a staff position, and I got to work closely with Coach Martin and now Danny Thomason and create what that looks like to help support our student athletes well. So with student athletes from 25 different states and 23 different countries across our world, we have students coming in from all places, and we get to see them for who they are, get to hear their stories, hear their hearts, meet them where they are through their sport, through their time here on campus. They are made into these Christ-like disciples that will go out and change the world. So that's my hope, that as we're here getting to pour into students, I get to see God taking maybe what was a difficult situation and transforming a life, and light bulbs coming on and supports being placed around students that will impact who they are as mothers and fathers and husbands and wives and professionals that go out and change the world.
So people used to ask how you break in on the college level, and I used to say work for free for a couple of years. So that's how I did it. You know, I volunteered, hung around till a job came open. At that time, there was 4 sports, 2 men's and 2 women, and it was a bare bones staff, and it was a small budget. And then when Bobby Martin became the basketball coach in I believe it was the spring of '86. I came on kind of as a strength and conditioning coach, kind of a third basketball assistant, part-time, and that's how it started. Dr. Gresham was trying to really grow the school. He's really trying to have a big vision, and we started adding sports, and you know, they just started ticking off one after another.
Coach McGrady was tasked by Bobby Martin to add a new chapter to the SNU story by beginning a football program.
There wasn't a lot of small college offerings or Christian school offerings for football in Oklahoma, and so there was a niche for that level of football in Oklahoma at the time, and so we recruited, we got our equipment ready, we started getting plans on fields and so forth, and first game was around September 9th, 2000, played Bethel, Kansas. And 8,000 people were at Taft Stadium on a warm day in September. Lauren Gresham flew in with the first football on a Channel 9 helicopter, as I recall. And it was SNU going into a new frontier athletically as far as the football world is concerned.
SNU Athletics has been built by those who pushed for the program to challenge new frontiers. No one in the history of the school pushed us forward more than Dr. Wanda Rhodes.
She had camping experiences for students, sailing experiences. She was just doing everything to try to develop recreational and both athletic opportunities for particularly females. She's really the mother of women's sports on our campus.
Dr. Rhodes recruited Stephanie Schellenberger to develop what would become another hallmark sport at SNU.
And I taught 9th grade biology, and it was probably one of the hardest jobs that I've ever had. And at the end of my 2nd year, again, my heart just began to stir, and I felt God pulling me away somewhere else, but I didn't know where. But I called Dr. Rhodes because she'd been such a strong mentor for me, and I just asked her to pray. I just said, I know God's stirring my heart, but would you just pray? And she said she would. And so I felt confident in her prayers. And 2 days later, she calls me and she says, Stephanie, how would you like to come to SNU, start working on your master's, but start the women's volleyball program? It took me about a day, and it was just an overwhelming peace. It's just like God sealed it right there, that this is the direction I want you to go, Stephanie.
God's calling of Stephanie helped lead to the beginning of a volleyball program.
My life was so changed by the young women that came on this campus, their stories, their brokenness, their joys, their accomplishments, the kind of people they were. I gained far more from them than I would hope that they'd ever did from me.
The influence of Stephanie Schellenberger and Dr. Rhodes continues to impact the volleyball culture of SNU today.
And volleyball wasn't a name that you heard. It wasn't a sport that people talked about a lot, and it was one of the things that was first and foremost on my mind. Is I wanted to take what Stephanie had done and started building and make it a program that when people came to SNU, they asked about volleyball. So we had some good success back in the NAIA years. I just kind of continued on what Stephanie had built over that 4-year period, and really got the program going the kind of the way that I wanted it to go. Just kind of leapfrogged off what she did. Watching her work with female athletes, as much as I learned from her in different aspects of the game, just impacted me as a person. No other person in my life has probably impacted me the same way that she has. And she gave me a career. She gave me a purpose in what I was ultimately going to do. She set the groundwork. Tons and tons of stories over the year where God's changed the lives of kids, and those are stories you can't put scholarship amount on. You can't put the impact they make on you. But fun stories to look back and see what he's done through that process.
So what keeps you here?
It's 100% what keeps you here. It's part of the journey. We preach all the time to our teams, about showing something different, because I know this place provides different. I know it gives different to kids.
Sitting here in 2024, this season we've got probably 12 or 13 countries that are represented, from South America, Central America, all over to Europe, Africa. They get to experience a mission of making Christ-like disciples through higher education at Southern Nazarene University. They get to experience a community and a group of faculty, staff, students, coaches, other athletes that all are experiencing the same thing, and they become a family here. So they leave our program and they get to go make an impact. They've heard the gospel here. They've heard the gospel of Jesus Christ here at SNU, and they leave our program ready to go impact the world wherever they're heading back to.
I believe and know, because I've seen it, that sometimes the only time someone will hear the gospel or hear the great news and good news of the story of Jesus Christ is through athletics. And so we are very intentional here to do a few different things. We constantly are going to make sure that they're involved in service opportunities. You can't read the Bible and not understand and know that Jesus served everyone that he came in contact with. So we want to make sure that we do it to an even greater degree than we've ever done it, because if we've only got somebody for a year, a semester even, we want to make sure to give them the opportunity to see the mission not only lived out, but give them an opportunity to experience it as well. We have had so many athletes this last really 6 months celebrate through baptism. I've seen it at my local church. I get pictures from coaches where they're back at their local church and they're making a public proclamation of their faith, and those, in many cases, those roots started right here through SNU Athletics. You know, the roots of sports at SNU obviously go all the way back and started with men's basketball, but over the years there were several sports that were started, whether it was baseball, golf, women's basketball, of course, and so there's been kind of this up and down evolution of sports over time, where we've added sports and then sometimes stopped sports. You know, now, like I said, when you count everything, we have 22 different sport offerings, 16 NCAA Division II sports, and 6 varsity level sports. The last year was the most successful year we've had in the Division II era. And so we've had a lot of success, but not just in our NCAA sports. We finished the season nationally ranked in women's rugby in just 2 seasons. a little school here in Bethany is competing with huge schools like Michigan. To be in the Central Regional Finals for our women's softball team, and specifically against the University of Central Oklahoma, for us to hit a walk-off home run and knock them out was a highlight. Also, our football team's coming off its most successful year in Division II history. Went to their very first bowl game in the Division II era down in Corsicana, Texas, and had a really successful season. And so there's a lot of momentum that's going on in athletics, and there was a lot of people that came before that helped to really pave the path for us to be successful. And so there's been this rich history since 1964 of starting with one single sport, one team, and now growing it from, I guess, on that original team, it's safe to say there would have been around 15 gentlemen, and now we have 612 student athletes here on the campus of Southern Nazarene University. So from those humble beginnings in 1964 all the way to today, it's been kind of fun to watch the growth of SNU Athletics over the years. In SNU Athletics, we believe that excellence honors God. We will continue to work hard to win more conference championships and even more national championships. However, our number one mission will always be the same, and that's to model Jesus for all of our student athletes.
I can't imagine the SNU today without the BNC of the past, without the decision that was made 60 years ago to start athletics here on campus. Regardless of what cultural changes may come our way in the future years, I can promise you this: we are going to remain mission focused. We take athletes from across the spectrum. They come with a variety of faith backgrounds. In some cases, they come with little to no faith background, but that's not going to change who we are. We're committed to character, culture, Christ, and specifically refining character, creating culture, and serving Christ. That is our hope. That's what we get up every day planning to do. That's what our purposely different brand of education is all about, and I pray that it will always be.
Southern Nazarene University stands proud as a place not only of athletic and academic excellence, but as a place where the Spirit moves and inspires. Providing not just a place where athletes come and compete, SNU offers its hallowed halls, built on the shoulders of giants, a place where students come to continue their story. Not just stories of athletic achievement, but stories of monumental and radical redemption. It is our mandate and duty that our mission to make Christ-like disciples through higher education be carried on for each generation to come.